Welcome to California Edition. I'm Brad Pomerance. We are in Turlock today on our roadshow. We are joined by Chris Vierra. He is the mayor of Ceres, California, a beautiful town just to the north of Turlock. Is that right?
That's correct.
It's also the home of Anthony Cannella, State Senator Anthony Cannella. I know that you're good friends with Anthony. Anthony, anything you want to tell us about him?
Boy, there's probably a lot I could talk about, but no real skeleton.
He's a good man. Let's talk about Ceres, though, and talk about the real accomplishments of your community. You're in the heart of ag country. You would think that ag would be using a lot of water, the residents would be using a lot of water, but your per capita use is pretty low.
Yes, a couple years ago, we made a big effort to focus on water usage. So we implemented water meters, and we took it a step further, I should say. We provide residents with real-time information. Each of our residents can log into the portal, see how much water they're using within 20 minutes of the actual login time. So if you want to make that change and conserve on water, you can do it and not wait 30 days till you get your bill to see how much water you've used.
There has been a proposal floating around, and that proposal is looking at the question of dual meters. Should there be a meter that focuses on indoor use and on outdoor use? You know, indoor use, it's hard to cut back. I mean, you have washing machines, dishwashers, arguably you could cut back there. But look, we take showers, we use toilets. Outdoor meters, though, I mean, you could cut back more significantly on watering green lawns and stuff. What do you think about that possibility?
That's an interesting concept. It's actually the first that I've heard of. When you look at the breakdown of the water usage, a majority is for landscape usage as opposed to the indoor usage. So, my only concern would be the additional cost and the implementation of a second meter. I'm not sure that we would garner much more than what we're already finding. We actually, at this point, can even detect a gallon leaking. I'll give you an example. We had a resident who, if the meter goes for 10 gallons every hour for 72 consecutive hours, we know that there's a leak somewhere. We sent out one of our technicians, and the gentleman had slow leaks in 3 of his bathroom toilets. So our technician helped replace the seal in the toilet so that it would stop the water from leaking. And so we were able to conserve the water. You know, it's just something, it's a tremendous resource and tool that allows us to know right where we are with our water.
From where did you receive the funding to put in these new smart meters?
A lot of the funding comes from the ratepayers. What we had to do is we implemented the 218 vote to take to our ratepayers the infrastructure that we needed to do. What most people don't realize is the single largest asset that a city has is our water and sewer system. It's $1 billion asset. And like I try to tell my residents, if you owned a Ferrari, would you ever not change the oil? No, you'd maintain it. You'd keep it working and functioning very well. Well, with our water system, it's 50, 60 years old. We all turn on the tap and we expect, pure water. Well, that comes at a cost, and my residents have realized how important that is.
You may have heard in parts of California, specifically Los Angeles County, they're having massive water pipe leakage and just complete explosions. There was one at UCLA over the summer, and it's just devastating to see all this water come out when we're in this drought. That being said, it really begs the question. You mentioned your pipes are 50 to 60 years old. That's starting to get to the end of the life cycle of a pipe. And so when you think about Ceres or LA County or whatever it is, where are you on that question of improving and or replacing these aging pipes?
Well, we have taken part with a master plan of our water system, and we've implemented improvements where deficiencies were. So as mentioned, we taxed our residents. We're using that money to replace the aging infrastructure, both in the sewer and the water. Early in the time when I was on the council, we focused on what I would call above ground. So a community center, a park, a new interchange. Now, in the last few years, we've kind of gone what I would say is below ground. You don't see the glamorous things like the sewer lines or the water lines or the pump stations, but those need to be upgraded. They need to be kept in good working condition. So we've channeled a lot of the resources that we have and the money that we've collected to make sure that we bring those up to current standards.
You mentioned below ground, and it's actually Senator Cannella who taught me about the concept of subsidence. When groundwater is used to such an extent that there's a depletion, and as a result you see literally with your own eyes that the ground is falling on itself, subsiding. And the problem with subsidence is you can't puff it back up.
That's correct.
Once it's subsided, that basin is in trouble. You're seeing that in Ceres?
We're not seeing it in Ceres. We're fortunate because our city is adjacent to the Tuolumne River.
Right.
So we're not seeing that, but we are seeing a degradation in our water quality, and we're having to deal with that.
Are you near the Delta? Or do you access the Delta?
There is some influences, but most of all of our water that
Right.
supplies our residents is groundwater. So it's very critical for us that we make sure that not only that the volume, but the quantity and the
Right.
quality of the water is good enough for us to meet the state standards. So we're monitoring it. Senator Cannella is exactly right. It's a precious resource and one that we need to make sure that the groundwater and the table of the groundwater stays where it should be.
As you know, the state recently regulated groundwater for the first time. California had been the only state in the West that had not regulated groundwater. You know, some people are cheering, some are nervous. And so where is Ceres on this? How are you feeling about this? Are you already an adjudicated basin, or how is it working?
Ceres feels very good about it.
Okay.
I actually have been fortunate to sit on the Water Advisory Committee that the county put together that looked at the groundwater ordinance that was recently adopted by the Board of Supervisors. Obviously, as I've mentioned before, groundwater is a tremendous resource for us. It's always uncomfortable when you make changes, and it's difficult for us, but it's something that we need to make sure that we protect. So I'm supportive of what we're doing. It's something where we're going to have, trials and tribulations as we go through this process.
So you're a community that will take the bull by the horns and adopt its own regulations, because under the groundwater bill that was passed, if a community doesn't do it, the state will come in.
Correct. And that's why we've been as aggressive as we have in our water consumption, because we want to make sure that we're leading the edge in that arena, because again, I don't have a surface water treatment facility that I can rely on. I have to rely on the groundwater.
Let's talk about economic development. You know as well as most, the Central Valley was hit pretty hard during this recession. Bouncing back nicely, though. Simultaneously, the redevelopment tool was eliminated. I'm not sure if Ceres had a redevelopment agency, but it did. I can see by your face that agency is gone. Maybe it will come back in the next session. How are you doing with attracting business to your community?
It's been difficult the last few years with the economy and the downturn. It's pretty much come to a grinding halt. We've started to see seeds of economic growth occur in the last 12 to 18 months.
Okay.
As a civil engineer by trade, I am on the front lines of seeing when development is starting. And so we've tried to position ourselves while we were in the downturn to make sure that the infrastructure, the roads were at a position where when businesses came calling, we'd be ready and we could open our doors and arms to them. But it has been difficult. We're starting to see some pickup in that area.
But how do you compete with your sister cities in Stanislaus County? I mean, you're all grabbing for economic development, and you're all, somewhat on top of each other. And
well, that's a great question, and one that my council and I have struggled with, because we really don't want to compete with our neighboring cities. So we've tried to look at what are our strengths and what could we offer other outside businesses. So maybe, for instance, Ceres is one that we embark on recycling type businesses. Everybody has a cell phone. Maybe we need to be an area that recycles cell phones, or maybe we need to be something where we're all getting older. There's going to be retirement communities and other things. Maybe we need to try to get businesses that come for that.
You're a good man. He is Chris Vierra. He is mayor of Ceres. I'm in Turlock. It's Brad Pomerance in California.